A missive arrived from a distant metropolis. It was a digital message from my companion, stating plainly, "Just formally united in matrimony with my professional colleague." "You are contemptible, by the way." My response was succinct. "Understood." Subsequently, I swiftly deactivated all her financial instruments and replaced the security mechanism on our dwelling. The next dawn, constabulary officers were at my threshold. I, a gentleman of 34 summers, received this communication at 02:47 on a dreary Tuesday. My erstwhile partner, age 31, was purportedly attending a vocational seminar in that vibrant, far-off city. The message contained an accompanying photograph. Her and the aforementioned gentleman brandishing marriage certificates outside some rather gaudy chapel. The complete text was quite venomous. "Just married a certain individual. I've been intimately involved with him for 8 months. You're pathetic, by the way. Your languid temperament rendered this entire escapade effortless. Savor your miserable little existence." I remained transfixed, scrutinizing my mobile device for perhaps half a minute. Then I tapped out that solitary syllable. "Understood." Before she could offer any rebuttal, I commenced my work. You see, while my former associate might have been clandestine about her infidelity, she was utterly inept at managing fiscal matters. Every significant asset was solely registered in my name. The residence, the principal accounts, and even her plastic cards were merely supplementary privileges on my own accounts. By 03:15, I had already annulled all her cards, reconfigured every digital key she knew, rescinded her authorized status everywhere, and summoned a 24-hour master locksmith. The service cost a tidy £300, yet it was a worthy investment. I also meticulously captured digital evidence of everything for my archives. The locksmith arrived promptly at 04 DAO. By 05 WA, the new locking systems were duly installed. I even took the precaution of altering the entry code for the vehicular shelter. With my arrangements complete, I retired to my chambers. I awoke at 80 to an insistent pounding upon the door. 2 members of the local constabulary stood there, their expressions indicating clear vexation. "Sir, we have received a complaint regarding a domestic incident. Your companion claims you have denied her access to her domicile." I calmly presented them with the digital evidence of the recent wedding ceremony. "She is no longer my lawful spouse, officers. She formerly married another gentleman merely 5 hours past." The senior officer's eyebrows immediately soared. The junior officer attempted to maintain a professional composure, yet I observed a discernible quiver at the corner of his mouth. "She is now alleging that you have pilfered her personal effects and funds." "Officers," I stated, my tone even and measured, "I possess unequivocal documentation establishing this property as my exclusive premarital acquisition," I stated to the officers. "The financial instruments were registered solely in my name. She was merely an authorized cardholder. Furthermore, I have not interfered with any of her personal effects." They requested verification that the digital communication was authentic. I showed them my device, the text, the timestamp, the whole sordid affair. The senior constable sighed, weary and resigned. "Madam," he broadcast into his radio, "you must now resolve this matter via the appropriate legal channels. We are precluded from compelling him to grant you entry. Given your recent marriage to another party," I heard a sudden shrieking outburst emanating from the radio. My former associate was clearly incandescent with rage. The constabulary departed after issuing a caution against the destruction of her belongings. I gave my assurance that all her possessions would be duly placed outside the property, awaiting her collection. Update 1. The collision. Good heavens, this situation has escalated rapidly. To address the frequent inquiries, yes, this narrative is entirely factual. Mercifully, there are no offspring involved. And yes, I have formally retained the services of a barrister. Later that afternoon, my erstwhile partner arrived, accompanied by the new groom, her mother, a certain matriarch, and her sibling, a female relation. The new groom appeared profoundly anxious, as if wishing to be anywhere in the cosmos but here. I imagine the exhilaration of the distant wedding evaporated swiftly upon the realization that his new bride was now both domicileless and impecunious. They attempted every stratagem. The matriarch threatened to contact the constabulary anew. I calmly reminded her of the fruitlessness of their previous endeavor. The female relation denounced me as a controlling psychological deviant. The new groom endeavored to assume a tough facade until I casually mentioned my intention to forward their wedding photograph to human resources at their shared corporation. Their internal code strictly prohibited fraternization. My erstwhile partner began to weep hysterically, loudly lamenting that I was subjecting her to financial tyranny. I had already meticulously packed her items into cartons and placed them within the vehicular shelter. I informed the party they had precisely 60 minutes to load their vehicle and depart. The most exquisitely ironic moment? My former associate attempted to use her plastic card to hire the removal transport. It was instantly declined. The new groom was forced to settle the bill. His visage was utterly invaluable. But here is where the plot truly thickens. My legal counsel telephoned yesterday. My erstwhile partner is now attempting to assert that she was heavily inebriated and mentally manipulated into the distant wedding. She seeks to have the union declared null and void and intends to claim rights to our property, arguing we were still technically wed when she commenced her journey. My barrister's response was a deep, hearty peal of professional laughter. She has furnished you with written corroboration of both adultery and bigamy. Her case is indefensible. I also ascertained via a network of mutual acquaintances that the new groom has been residing in his parents' lower ground floor. He was evidently under the misapprehension that my former associate possessed significant capital. A truly comical miscalculation. Further developments are imminent. This saga is far from its conclusion. Update 2. The nuclear escalation. Brace yourselves, for my erstwhile partner has unleashed a full-scale assault. She first inaugurated a public relations smear campaign, posting across every social medium that I was an abusive, narcissistic brute who had imprisoned her in a joyless marriage, forcing her to seek true affection elsewhere. Her mother and sister dutifully disseminated this fabrication everywhere. Disturbingly, a few shared acquaintances actually afforded it credence. But my former associate overlooked one crucial detail. I maintain a close relationship with a gentleman, a technological prodigy within our circle. He successfully aided me in the retrieval of some remarkably illuminating digital correspondence between her and the new groom, dating back over a calendar year. These messages included her boasting about meticulously executing a long-term strategy and securing substantial funds before permanently abandoning me. My favorite extract read, "He's so incredibly dense. I've been progressively redirecting capital from our nominal joint account for household provisions for months. I've nearly amassed sufficient funds for my dream wedding with you, my darling." That nominal joint account. It was, in reality, merely my personal account, which I permitted her to utilize for domestic expenditures. I retrieved the official statements. She had been withdrawing cash for groceries and habitually spending perhaps half the sum. The remainder? That remains a mystery. I published the irrefutable digital evidence. Her carefully constructed narrative disintegrated instantly. Then followed the extinction burst. Firstly, she persuaded her father, a male relation, to contact my chief executive officer, falsely claiming I was continued harassing the kin of a colleague. My chief executive officer, who was fully apprised of the entire sequence of events, professionally advised the caller to desist from further contact. Secondly, she attempted to gain forced entry to the residence at 3 o'clock in the morning. My newly installed surveillance equipment captured the entire incident. She was audibly screaming about her ancestral jewelry, which, I might add, her grandmother still wears, being very much alive. This was, of course, entirely a fabrication. Thirdly, she advanced the preposterous claim that I had perpetrated harm upon her domestic feline. We have never, in point of fact, possessed a cat. I suffer from a severe allergic reaction. Fourthly, she commenced contacting my mother with tearful entreaties, declaring that she had made an egregious error and that the new groom meant nothing. My mother's counsel was direct. You ought to have contemplated the consequences before being intimately involved with that gentleman for 8 months, my dear. The zenith of this unbridled sense of entitlement arrived yesterday. I received a call from the new groom's mother, a certain parent. This audacious individual had the temerity to demand that I be a man and reinstate my erstwhile partner, because her son could not financially sustain a spouse and had merely made an imprudent youthful mistake. I inquired whether she was in earnest. Was she actually requesting that I reestablish a life with a woman who had flagrantly betrayed me, simply so her son might avoid the natural repercussions? Well, when you articulate it in that manner, you sound rather self-serving, she retorted. Matrimony is predicated upon the principle of absolution. I abruptly terminated the conversation. Last evening, my former associate dispatched one final communication from a friend's mobile device. You have utterly demolished my existence. I sincerely hope you find contentment. My reply was immediate and truthful. Indeed, I do. My gratitude for your inquiry. I then barred that number as well. The first dissolution of marriage hearing is scheduled for the morrow. My barrister is confident it will be a swift proceeding, given her clear act of bigamy. I await the day with keen anticipation. Final update, the decree absolute. The dissolution hearing was nothing short of exquisite. My erstwhile partner appeared, in a white gown for the hearing that was confirming her divorce. Having married another gentleman, the judiciary's expression was truly memorable. Her legal representative attempted to contend that the distant wedding should be invalidated because she was emotionally compromised and acted under duress from the new groom. The judge posed a pointed question. What is the definition of duress in this particular context? He made her certain pledges, Your Honor, and led her to believe that forsaking her existing marriage was her sole recourse. My barrister rose to his feet. Your Honor, I hold here 73 pages of social media correspondence, which demonstrates the defendant actively plotting this scheme for well over a calendar year. Incidentally, what surname is the defendant currently employing? The judge perused the pages. His expression transitioned from professional detachment to frank disgust, and finally to an almost bemused condescension. Madam, did you indeed pen the phrase, and I quote, I cannot wait to witness his foolish countenance when he comprehends I have relieved him of everything? My erstwhile partner's face flushed a deep crimson. That was taken out of its proper context, she mumbled. Swift and the missile. The culmination, final scene. But I was too swift, and the missile went astray, impacting a certain parent, the mother of the new groom, who had arrived to lend her support to young love. The resulting melee involving the hot beverage between the two matriarchs was quite the spectacle. Security personnel were immediately summoned. Plot twist, the new groom was nowhere in sight. According to the shrieking declarations of his mother, he had already commenced a new courtship with a 22-year-old mixologist he encountered at his own wedding, celebration, that is to say, the casino's public bar. My erstwhile partner collapsed into unattractive, full-blown hysterics, snot and tears streaming freely. She wailed repeatedly. This is not how the scenario was intended to unfold. Final remark, the new grooms. Mixologiste fiancé has now also abandoned him after discovering he was a married man. My barrister recently forwarded me the nullification, documents my erstwhile partner filed. Under the section marked Reason for Application, she had the audacity to write temporary mental instability.
And the moral is, the saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from those you trust the most. And in this instance, it arrived with a photo, a tacky chapel, and an astonishing lack of foresight.